Hey, what's going on, guys? Jace 2 Cents here, bringing you a talking head video of a bit of a follow-up regarding the entire ASUS Z690 Hero motherboard thing, because they reached out to me. They have some clarifiers. I want to read to you their official responses. I've also got some responses of my own to their responses, and I think the story goes deeper than what is actually being said here. So I just want to go ahead and kind of get right into it. Oh, and by the way, today also happens to be my 10-year anniversary of doing this on YouTube. So I would have much rather been doing a more fun video. But regardless, I think getting the entire story out there, and then again, questions that I have that are still unanswered on all of this. So let's just go ahead and get right to it. So JJ with ASUS, who's the technical marketing, been around with ASUS for a long, long time. We've worked with JJ in the past. Definitely knows his stuff. Reached out and wanted to have a call, and I basically said, please put this in an email. I don't want to translate anything verbatim. I want to do word for word. And we'll be putting up on here some of the particulars that he's saying. So I won't read the entire email because it's long. Anyone that's spoken with JJ knows that sometimes it can get long. But anyway, so here's the initial breakdown. So we talked about the fact that my video in December, I did 2 videos in December. One talking about the fact that boards were burning up and people were posting pictures of it. Then I posted a picture of my board. Then BuildZoid figured out what the issue was through a simple picture. And then we did a follow-up on that. And then ASUS responded to us and the entire industry a day or two after my second video in December went live. So basically what he said here, December 29th. So that was the day that they did the actual press conference. And I believe it was the 28th or the 27th when my video went live. He said ASUS provided notice by releasing in North American PR and engaging with postings and community forums, including our own PC DIY group of Reddit. This was to communicate the issue, the small number of confirmed incidences, and the commencement of our motherboard replacement program, as well as coordination with the government agency, the CPSC. So remember, the CPSC is that Consumer Protection and Safety Commission, which we talked about. They're the ones that get involved either through voluntary or involuntary or consumer-triggered recalls. It's basically, like I said, it just puts everything into a container that tells everyone how to go about the recall, direct notes from the company on how to go through the process. So that's what we're going to talk about here next, which is the process. It says ASUS has issued in a detailed replacement and RMA guide to the service and support team, which allowed our representatives to check whether users' Maximus Z690 Hero motherboards were affected and how to proceed with an RMA or motherboard replacement once confirmed. It says prior to the December announcement, ASUS completed an internal audit which confirmed the total quantity of boards affected. From the audit, they found that there was a specific batch for North America distribution of the Maximus Z690 Hero, and the affected units was approximately 10,000. So that coincides with the 10,000 that's listed on the official recall. They're also saying that these went only to North America. So one thing I want to comment on is a lot of people were saying, yeah, this only helps North America, but what about those in the Asian market? What about those in the Euro market? What about the Australian market, if they're affected? If what ASUS is saying here is true, which I have no reason to believe it wouldn't be, the only affected units made it to North America. And it did seem like these were a very first run batch. Now, they did say batch. That means there's obviously more than 10,000 of the Z690 Hero motherboards out there. So you're still going to see them floating around. However, once this issue was identified, ASUS did go on to say that they pulled all of them from all channel partners. Remember, channel partners is e-tailers, retailers, right? Best Buy, Micro Center, an e-tailer would be Newegg, or also potentially Micro Center, or B&H Photo, or Adorama. Anybody that sells their parts, they would notify and say, hey, take these off. They would also recommend that if they had any sort of a consumer or customer database of known buyer to like if, say, online you buy something, there'd be a log or a record of this product was purchased with this person and through this email, blah, blah, blah. So they could contact them and say, hey, this is a recalled item. The problem is if you walk into a brick and mortar and you pick the item up and you carry it to the register and you swipe your card and off you go, they don't have your customer information regarding that. So any of those customers would not have been notified if it wasn't for people doing these types of videos / written content. You know, pretty much every major publication, whether it be written or video format, has talked about this at some point. So that would have been the only way to know. So I guarantee there's still customers out there that may have this board that don't know anything about this. And that's just the way that buying works. Not all retailers have customer information on file, or will they necessarily even go through the effort to contact them, because it's like finding a needle in a haystack. Moving on, they kind of went into a breakdown here of how many were affected. It says the same final number that was reported to the CPSC's announcement August 18th. Approximately 4,000 of the 10,000 pieces were sold to end users. So basically 40% of them actually made it to customers. The remaining number of the 10,000, which includes 2,500 boards that were circulated to channel partners, that be people that AIB, not AIBs, but SIs or system integrators, builders, etc. They were also contacted to put the boards on hold. And then basically ASUS went through and anything that wasn't sold or distributed yet, they obviously pulled, and they say they even destroyed those boards. He says, again, that means the only boards affected were the original production batch, which is the first batch, like I said, which ASUS audited and confirmed relayed to CPSC. Here's the part where I sort of want to dig into this a little bit. He said, after identifying the batch, ASUS proactively started an initial communication with the CPSC on January 11th, 2022 to implement a fast-track recall. We submitted all necessary documentation. From this point forward, I don't know if we're talking to JJ or we're talking to lawyers. I don't. And this is obviously, like I said, a legal exposure thing, so I have no doubt what I'm reading here has been vetted and edited potentially by lawyers. You have to pay attention to the words here. It says we started initial communication with the CPSC on January 11th. It doesn't say they filed documentation on January 11th. It says they started communication with them on January 11th. Now here is where I'm going to pause because there's more stuff that he went on to say, and then I had some questions in response, and then he gave me official formal responses to those. We called the CPSC this morning. We asked them specifically, if communication on fast track, and by the way, on the CPSC's website, fast track recall takes 20 days, not 7 months and 7 days. Now we know for a fact that when NZXT was leaned on hard, Steve with Gamers Nexus completely led that charge regarding the riser cables catching fire. When there's a danger of fire, an immediate public safety issue, I mean, you're in an apartment, your PC catches fire, the whole apartment building goes up in flames. Ask Austin, he knows apartment fires are real and they move quickly. Fortunately, nobody was injured or died in the fire that Austin was involved in years ago with his apartment. 7 months and 7 days is far too long for that. We know NZXT was able to get the recall in place much faster than that. Now, whether that was because Steve contacted the CPSC on the consumer's behalf or NZXT got involved and also did a fast track on their own, the bottom line was it was about a month to a month and a half from when that process started to when the official CPSC recall happened. So we know that it can fast track. I don't like the terminology of here saying we started initial communication. So basically to me that sounds like, and this is left to interpretation because I asked for clarification and you'll see in the next email they refused to give it to me. It sounds like they said, hey, we got this thing happening, we'll let you know how it goes. When we called the CPSC, we were basically told, we don't give that information out. You'll have to go through the Freedom of Information Act. Now, I'm not gonna file an official Freedom of Information Act to get the information of when it was filed. I feel like I kinda need to. The problem is I wanted to put this video out today. I feel like deep diving on this some more and finding out exactly when the initial communication started and when ASUS actually activated the recall. Because I feel like if they had gotten as many of the boards back as they were expecting, then they wouldn't have needed to go through the fast track. It sounds to me like things were not happening fast enough and then they went through the official recall. That way there's covering your ass on their end saying there's a recall, if there's a fire, we did a recall. So again, that whole sentence right there, I feel like that's lawyer speak. And I don't feel like it is, because I asked them specifically. Let me finish his response to the first email and then I'll tell you what my rebuttal was and what his response was and why I'm less than happy about it. They delisted the Maximus Z690 Hero, which we've talked about before, like we couldn't find it on websites or anything, it was completely gone. It says after completing the audit, they began a production swap and replacement to end users. So basically what they're saying is if you had a Z690 motherboard, you could send it back to them directly and then they would swap it with another board. In most instances when people were showing me their follow-ups, they were getting an upgrade. It was actually a slightly better board they were getting. So there wasn't a whole lot of complaint about that. The problem was there was a lot of trust issues at that time. Every brand makes mistakes. I mean, EBJ's had graphics cards that melted and or catch fire. Obviously NZXT has had a fire problem. Now ASUS had this issue with the motherboard. There's a period there where you become a little bit skittish about using the brand again, even though they may have 20 years of stellar reputation regarding quality of products. I'm not saying specifically ASUS has 20 years of stellar quality. I'm just saying a brand could have 20 years of stellar quality, and if you have a bad experience, that kind of lingers longer than the good quality. So clearly there was people that were unhappy there. But anyway, they went on to say that the customers that still have a motherboard out there or need service and maybe don't know about this, they can contact them directly at 1-888-363-1885 for instructions on how to return the product. Anyway. In summation, If you review the information detailed and have no concerns, would you allow us to place a formalized pinned comment? I basically told them I was going to make this video, and I will link to this video on there. So I'm not letting ASUS put a pinned comment on my video. I'm directing here where you guys can see, and we've been putting on screen exactly what their responses were. Now here was my response. I said, can you clarify why it took the CPSC 8 months and 7, it's actually 7 months, 7 days, I typoed there. 8 months, or 7 months, 7 days to formalize and publish the January 11th application. This doesn't sound very fast track. He says, no, we cannot comment on the process and timeline for the government agency. With this noted, ASUS was proactive and very respondent in offering our own motherboard replacement program at the end of 2021. This program has run to this date in 2022, and it also aligns with our proactive submission and coordination with the CPSC. ASUS decided to execute both our program and the CPSC submission concurrently, and the August 18th announcement was the culmination of our original submission. So what that sounds like I said, we told them, hey, this is happening, we'll keep it posted. And then I think they sat on it all this time until they activated it, which was in August. So again, no comment on what's been happening in the meantime. Were they not getting enough responses? Were they saying, okay, of the 10,000, we only have 6,392 accounted for. We still have 3,800 or 3,700 potential ticking fire starters out there. I don't know. And they're not being forthcoming with that information. I said, I do still have concerns as a handful of people over this period showed me evidence that they were denied an RMA since their serial numbers were not within range of the identified batch. This was early on in the year. Is ASUS accepting back any North American Z690 Hero board? ASUS is committed to supporting any and all customers who are affected. We have no internal documentation to reflect an RMA specific to the motherboard replacement program exists outside the serial number range. So what they're basically saying is like, we don't have any evidence of that. This is, like I said, 7 months ago, and I went absolutely digging through my email to try and find, somebody gave me a very detailed email that showed, here's my serial number. Here's a photo of my backwards capacitor, and here is a copy of the email of them denying me RMA. It exists, and if you're out there watching this video, I need you to contact me, and if you also fall in this category, I need you to contact me because that means their audit is wrong, or there's something flawed with the audit. The problem is I get about 100,000 emails between then and now, and it's in the void. I don't know where it is. Regardless of this, if a customer reaches out to ASUS and will replace any affected motherboard, which is confirmed to have the production issue. So what they're saying is, if you have a board that is not within that range, or any Z690 board, and you show that the capacitor is backwards, they'll replace it. And I think that should be the case. I think that should be the case, honestly. So we would also like to note again that there have been no new incidents. And they're referring to incidents of actual burning / melting / catching fire. Because they did identify about 10 instances where that happened, and that's even noted on the recall. So that's a very small number, but the problem is the potential of that happening there because of a backwards capacitor is absolutely a severe issue. ASUS is maintaining an active RMA buffer to cover the motherboard replacement of any original 2021 Maximus Z690 Hero motherboards. So what they're saying is they're going to continue the recall for a bit longer, but that's going to expire. Recalls do expire. I don't know when this one's set to expire, but it does. I'm gonna read you an email that I got from someone. I'll leave this person's name redacted here, but he says, hello, and this was dated to me 1/14, so almost a month after my initial video about this in December. He said, you had recently posted a video praising ASUS's recall program in response to the Z690 Hero's backwards capacitor. However, as an owner of an affected serial number, so this one's affected, I would like to inform you that their so-called recall program is not deserving praise. In fact, it should be receiving condemnation, and hell, they shouldn't even call it a recall program. I've been battling with ASUS trying to get them to replace my recalled Z690 Hero, but they have just informed me that my motherboard is not eligible for replacement because it hasn't caught fire yet. I wish I was kidding when I say that. They initially requested that I send it in for repair, but I can't go without my PC for 2+ weeks because I need it for work. I also paid for a new motherboard, not a refurbished one. I was also advised by a Redditor to reach out to you and share my experience. He says, I believe that there's a story here, and I would greatly appreciate it if you would be willing to help me go to toe with ASUS by exposing them for their beyond recall program. So when we open up Reddit, hello, blank. Thank you for contacting ASUS product support. My name is Anjen A, and it's my pleasure to help you with your problem. Here's a reply to our coordination. Since this and this is in quotes by the way, since this customer has not had an incident with the motherboard, we cannot consider this a safety hazard. You haven't shot yourself in the foot yet, therefore the gun is not a danger. That's basically what they said. Also, this customer is still within Micro Center's holiday return policy, so he will need to return it to the place of purchase, place of purchase. They are accepting holiday returns until 1/15. You can still return the unit to the place of purchase. That's not the only time I heard something like that regarding this entire incident. So I've reached back out to this person. This email is over 6 months old. I have not heard back from them. I was hoping to hear back from them before making this video, but the thing is, I received tons of tweets, comments on my original video, as well as emails like this one, saying that the ASUS program was absolute junk. I hope that's not true. I hope they've definitely made this better. But I wanted to follow up on the original story because the story there, and it was very clear on the video I put live a few days ago, was that I want to know what happened between December, that was January 11th is a new date that they said where they started initial communication with the CPSC. I want to know what happened between then and August. Because it sounds to me like the recall was there and ready to go, but ASUS had to activate it because that was a proactive recall, meaning the brand reached out to the CPSC. If a consumer reached out, or a class action lawsuit lawyer reached out, or someone on behalf of the consumer safety other than the brand reached out, then the CPSC could force the recall. However, because this was proactive, ASUS got to basically hold the key on when that gets activated. The CPSC won't give us any information, and I really think we need to apply for that because I want to know, I want to see, did ASUS start the communication and then sit on it until August? Or did it take the CPSC that long to do it? I don't believe it took the CPSC that long to do it. I don't trust most government agencies. I don't think they're truly serving the communities that they are governing, but I don't think they would have sat on this 7 months after we've seen what's happened with the NZXT recall. ASUS won't say what happened. And when it's literally like when there's a press conference with the police and then we can't comment on an active investigation. Hey, so why did it take so long? I don't know, ask the CPSC. And I almost feel like they told me to ask the CPSC because they knew I wouldn't get an answer. But for whatever reason, ASUS won't say because I think there's a story there. Anyway, there you go. That's all I have to say about this. That's their responses. I want to say that ASUS did the right thing by being proactive, sort of, by putting together an RMA program, which you see was flawed. And I do think that this is somewhat of a, we're going to sweep this under the rug as best as we can kind of a deal. My issue here is we've seen this already with big companies. The bigger the company, the slower it is to do anything. Anyway, there you go, guys. I wish I was spending my 10-year anniversary doing something more fun than this, but that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Again, please sound off down below and or send me emails at jays2cents@gmail.com with how your RMA experience went. I'm not letting this one go, ASUS.